this will be a restorative yoga practice focused on real restoration, the kind of rest you might need after a busy day or a busy phase of your life. We'll be focused mainly on having our legs up the wall, but we will begin and end in a supported Shavasana. So for this practice, it will be helpful to have at least one bolster. You may even use 2 bolsters. If you don't have bolsters, you can use blocks to support your hips when you go up the wall, or you can just rest to the floor. It's actually okay and feels pretty good to practice without the props too. So coziness, textures and support, that's a big part of a restorative practice. This is a practice where we don't do any work ourselves. We allow ourselves to be held and nurtured. It's kind of a radical proposition to let yourself be truly comfortable and to take conscious rest where we're not distracted, we're not sleeping, we're being with ourselves, caring for ourselves. So let's get into it. So taking your bolster, it's good to have your mat positioned up against a wall because we will be taking our legs up the wall soon. But let's begin by finding a Shavasana with that bolster under your knees. And if you wanted to, you could have a second bolster under your head or a smaller pillow. For me, the back of my head and neck are quite comfortable to the floor. But if you find as you lie down that your chin is either tilting right up or tucking right down, make any adjustments that you want. And add an extra cushion or 2 anywhere you want them. Some people even find folding blankets to rest their hands on extra comforting, especially if the floor is a little cool. This is all about finding ease and comfort for you. So don't persist with any discomfort. Find a way to make it really cozy as you settle in for true restoration. Giving your body and mind a conscious rest. It's quite normal when we come into stillness like this for our minds to continue their busy activities. To begin with, I suggest allowing that. Let your mind run where it wants to run. And as you settle in, start to become the observer of that mental activity. You could name or note the kind of thoughts that arise. Perhaps you'll be saying to yourself, oh, there's that thought about the past. And there's my mind planning or dreaming. There's my worry. There's my sadness. Any thoughts that come, allow them to be there. Make space for them and make a kind of space around them so that they're free to move on. Part of this practice is not to suppress our thinking, but to gently let it slow down. Perhaps you'll notice where one thought ends and another begins. And gradually you may find some space between thoughts. See if you can allow your awareness to rest into those spaces. . a little like the idea that you are the sky. Your thoughts are like weather passing by. Bringing some awareness to your breath here, noticing your natural breath, the in and out flow. Just as you've been aware of the spaces between thoughts, see if you can let your awareness rest into those spaces between each breath. Those moments of not doing. For your next few breaths, I invite you to try breathing in through your nose and out through an open mouth. You can let those out breaths go with a sigh or a noise if you like. And then letting your breath find its own natural way again. We'll begin to bring some movement to the wrists here, lifting your hands free of the floor and give your wrists a bit of a circle. Circling one way and then circling the other way. Before letting your hands find rest again. You can straighten your legs, letting the heels lift off the floor, and give your ankles some movement. Circling one way, and then back the other way. And let your feet soften and find rest again. Slowly bending up your knees and giving your knees a hug towards your body. Feel that lengthening in your lower back and have a gentle rock side to side. From here you can rock or roll or find your way up to seated. And we're just going to shift ourselves into our Viparita Karani. Legs up the wall position. And you might be doing this on the floor as I am. This is also a really good way to practice in your own bed. If you've got your bed up against a wall, you can lie on your back and place your legs up the wall in bed as well. There's not really any graceful way to get your legs up. People have different styles, but I like to come side onto the wall, partly up on the bolster, and then to wriggle down, bringing the legs up. And then it's a bit of a worm wriggle to get the hips in closer to the wall. So this kind of waterfall position is really quite a lovely place to be. So for me, bolster is quite low under the base of my spine. You could bring it higher. And as I said at the beginning, you could also use blocks under your lower back. Or you could have your back flat to the floor. In this position, everything can soften. And with my heart just slightly above my head, there's a shift in blood flow that creates a very natural relaxation response. There's a sense of heaviness in the legs, a feeling that the weight of the legs is anchoring, sinking into the hip joints. And the sacrum supported by the bolster or blocks feels secure and stable. So just being here in Viparita Karani starts to make that shift from busyness or from fatigue. There's a change in the flow of the fluids in the legs. Lymph moves towards the lymph nodes in the groin. And any swelling or edema from being on your feet can start to remedy itself. And with my legs straight up the wall, I'm beginning to feel an urge to bend the knees. So we can follow that sense, that felt experience, and start to bend the knees and take the feet out wider against the wall. This is almost like being in a squat position, still supported by the bolster, and it's a restorative pose, so we want no strain. So find the width of the position that suits you. If you need to wriggle or adjust, you can do that. Perhaps you'll want more support under the legs if you're feeling any strain. You could place blocks or rolled blankets there. Otherwise, staying soft, sinking in. Giving yourself permission to just be here. Shifting the legs again as you feel ready. Try having one leg straight up and one bent with the knee flopping out to the side. You can either leave the foot of the bent leg against the wall, or you may like to rest it on the opposite leg. It's a little bit like a tree pose, inverted. But again, we're not seeking stretch or strain. We're letting the posture nourish us, hold us, support us. As you rest here, stay mindful of the nature of the thoughts that come and go. And if you notice yourself following those thoughts, getting involved in the stories in your mind, that's fine, that's okay. Allow it if you wish. Or gently draw your awareness back to being present with your breath and your body, feeling into the support provided by the bolster, the wall, the floor. Letting the whole body be soft. As you take very conscious rest. Sink into the spaces between thoughts. Rest into the pauses between breaths. Starting to shift the legs once again, and this time bending the leg that's been straight and bringing the soles of the feet together. Again, you can be a little bit creative with how this feels against the wall. I want to wriggle a little closer for this one, so that more of my feet and the outside edges of the feet are supported by the wall. Again, if it's comfortable, then you've found your way. If you need more support, reach for that support, your blankets, your bolsters, your pillows. And this is self-care. Giving yourself time and space. giving yourself your undivided attention. You might choose to change your arm position, maybe taking them up overhead. That seems to shift things a little through the shoulders and upper back. Staying here a little longer. Allowing your whole body to be held. And gently beginning to shift, to straighten up one leg, and to leave the other bent. You could leave the foot against the wall, or as we did on the first side, you might take that foot, let it rest against the leg or on the leg. You could change your arm height, can be down lower. You could even have your hands resting on your belly. Deeply comfortable, greatly supported, steady and at ease. Beginning to unbend that bent leg, taking it back up the wall. And if you need a little bit of movement in your feet, give them a wriggle, point and flex the toes. And then we're coming into our last restorative Viparita Karani variation, taking your legs out wide. So we don't want to feel much stretch or any stretch in the inner legs. So you're finding the width that means there's not much sensation there for you. Again, if you require additional support under the heavier parts of the legs, you can wedge some cushions, blankets there. You might also find with the legs wide here a sense of space through the sacrum. Just checking in, ensuring that the pose is comfortable and supportive as it can be for you. Letting your face soften. Checking in with sensations in arms and hands. Again, you might choose to change position, maybe taking them up overhead. Taking a few more breaths, observing those pauses between each breath. And then beginning to move the legs, bringing them in closer together, bending the knees. You can give your knees a hug towards your chest. To come off your bolster, you may like to press your feet into the wall. Use a little bit of muscle energy to lift your hips so that you can slide that bolster out. And then let your back rest to the floor, maybe hugging in once again here. From here we're making our way to Shavasana. So you can raise one arm and roll to your side. But you can find a way up. Now for this Shavasana, we will be having a guided Yoga Nidra to follow your restorative practice. The Yoga Nidra includes a nature soundscape. So I invite you to use whatever will help you be comfortable in a resting position. I think the bolster under the knees is a really good idea, especially if you find your back gets it all sore when you lie on your back. And during your Yoga Nidra, you might also like to have something for under your head, a thin folded blanket or a small cushion. And if you happen to have an eye pillow, or you want to use a shawl or something like that to go over your eyes, that can also be really nurturing and comfortable. So finding your way down into your Shavasana. If it's cool in the room that you're in, place a blanket over you. You want to be really, truly comfortable. And that might mean seeking more resources, more support. And once you settle in, check through your body. Ensure that you are truly comfortable. And find a position here that you can stay for 15 or 20, thereabouts.